Hey, 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 happy Wednesday. Come on in, pull up a chair. The Daily Dope is in the air. Howdy, 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 gang. Yes, I'm Jeff McAleer, back once again as your host here at The Daily Dope, presented by thegaminggang.com, of which I happen to be the grand poobah. That I am. Yes, I am. I am the founder and editor-in-chief. Sorry I'm a few minutes late tonight. I was messing around with a few things. I will talk about that in just a moment. But today is Wednesday, September 18th. This is episode 364 of The Daily Dope. Of course, do want to point out that this is a live show, so if this is the first time you've popped in to check out the tabletop gaming news I'm about to bring you, this is very casual, so it's not rocket surgery, as I like to point out, that things are, just kind of kicking back, having some fun. There is chat available because this is live on YouTube. It's not on screen. It's one of the ways that I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. But there is chat. So if you'd like to say howdy, by all means, please say hello. And if you have a question, fire away. I'm more than happy to answer it. And I can see that Dan from No Enemies Here has arrived in chat as well. Do want to mention, if you like the video, please give it a quick thumbs up. If you check out some of the videos from the Gaming Gang channel, and of course, it's not just the Daily Dope. There are plenty of reviews and unboxings, which up until last week were part of the episodes of the Daily Dope. I kind of changed the format a little bit. But if you check out the channel and you like it, by all means, please subscribe. Don't forget, ring that little bell, ding, because if you do that, not only will you be notified when this stream goes live, but you'll also find out when I upload videos that aren't part of the stream. Say, oh, I don't know, my review of D&D's Baldur's Gate's Descent into Avernus, which I finally got posted yesterday. It's good stuff. I enjoyed it. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool. So definitely check that out. Of course, I always like to mention the gaminggang.com as well. Don't forget, that is my home website. That is where everything originates from. And there is tons there that you will not find on the Gaming Gang channel. There are thousands of articles, more than 600 reviews. I think we're at 609, somewhere in that vicinity. So, of course, be sure to tell a friend. In fact, tell two friends. You know, I'm small, right? So tell two friends. Just joke. I'm far from being small. So anyway, all right. So Flaming Heron's here. Hubcam 210's here. Dan from No Enemies Here is here. Okay. So I did want to mention, got my new lighting. It's a little bright. I'm gonna have to mess around with it a little bit, but they are dimmable. But when I dim it, then it starts looking yucky. So I do notice there's some glare popping up behind me, but and I'm still trying to decide if I want to kind of blur out the background, which I don't think I do. I don't think I want to, but I do. I think I get enough separation in the shot, so I don't think I have to worry about that too much. Now, one thing I do notice, at least to start off, if I move my hands around a little bit, we are not seeing kind of like a dimming and undimming of the video like we saw a couple of times past 2 days, because I just got this camera. I'm still figuring things out. Just like earlier today, not only was I hooking up all the lighting and that, I was once again trying to work on the audio, because these virtual audio cables are just such a pain, and they don't work right all the time. So I'm actually trying to kind of give the audio more of a, like you normally would hear, more of kind of a almost like a radio sound to it, you know, a little more. Not like that, but you know what I mean. So, Flaming Huron mentions that Baldur's Gate descent into Avernus seemed fine. Yeah, it should. It should have been. It should have been okay. It was just something going on last night when I was shooting. Suddenly, it just seemed like everything got quite a bit darker. But everything's a lot clearer, that's for sure, right? So that is pretty cool. Anyway, so we've got Dan, No Enemies here. Dan from No Enemies here. Hubcam 210 and Flaming Huron hanging out in chat. Maybe we'll get a few more people swinging in because it's a Wednesday night. People used to remember when this was War Game Wednesdays here. So, and hopefully audio's in sync too, because when I was messing around with the audio, it was coming in and out of sync. So I think I got it nailed down for right now. Anyway, as I mentioned, I used to do a lot of War Game Wednesday stuff, so why don't we talk about some War Game news to begin with? Because Red Storm is now available from GMT, and I've got the dope. March 1987. The hopes raised by Mikhail Gorbachev's reform efforts in the Soviet Union and nuclear disarmament talks with the United States are suddenly crushed when a military coup removes his regime from power. It was pretty close. It was close in real life. Hidden behind a disinformation campaign, Warsaw Pact forces prepare for war against the allied nations of NATO. May 1987, more than 2,000 aircraft in the Warsaw Pact. So that was pretty weird. We just dropped out here, and we had it was power flickered, and it dropped me off. So, well, at least we know that YouTube will combine the two videos together because the disconnection was so short. But that was really, really weird. Anyway, the second sequel to the Charles S. Roberts award-winning game Downtown. Red Storm is a standalone game that utilizes the Downtown game system. It is a sequel to depict a hypothetical air war in May and June 1987 over the central portion of the NATO Warsaw Pact front in central Germany. Like Downtown and Elusive Victory before it, Red Storm is an operational-level air warfare game where players manage large strike packages and numerous combat air patrols in an effort to strike enemy targets, protect their own ground troops, and secure control of the air above the land battle raging below. Both sides field highly advanced all-weather aircraft, long-range air-to-air missiles, precision bombs, sophisticated electronic warfare assets, and networks of surface-to-air missiles and radar-guided AAA. We're not talking about AAA who's going to come and replace your tire when you blow it. As a NATO player, you'll fight outnumbered in the air, but with an edge in technology and training. NATO faces the daunting task of claiming air superiority in the face of the initial onslaught from the Warsaw Pact air forces, while also delivering bombs onto Soviet and East German ground targets already on the front line, and those approaching in the rear echelons. As a Warsaw Pact player, you must push your numerous but less flexible forces to the absolute limit in an effort to overwhelm NATO forces in the air and destroy them on the ground, all while supporting your advancing ground forces. Both players must manage air defenses and networks consisting of overlapping layers of SAMs and AAA. Red Storm is for 2 players. I'm taking a guess ages 14 and up because this does have a higher complexity, and the solitaire suitability is kind of just mid-level. As I mentioned, the game is available right now. It does carry an MSRP of $79. So Paul Nolan has arrived in chat. Good to see you, Paul. Thanks for popping in to join us tonight. So this does look interesting. This probably looks a little meatier than I would personally want to jump into. But I'm going to leave these images going past real quick because I have to point out, I find the map to be really boring looking. I'm very, very because GMT has really upped their game most recently with their maps and with their graphics as far as their game boards and that. And this looks like it's straight out of 1987 itself. So yeah, I'm a little, I don't know. Let's let this come by one more time. There we go. And if you're watching on a large screen, you'll see what I mean. It just doesn't look all that thrilling. Now, I do actually have a question for Dan from No Enemies here. And my question is, when are we going to move on from like the 1980s war games that we constantly see? Is it only me who's like, okay, all right, I get it. Most of the war gamers out there, that's when they grew up. That we had the Cold War. I know all about it. We actually kind of sat there a little worried sometimes that, maybe we're going to get nuked. Hopefully not. I remember as a kid, I saw The Day After when it aired on ABC, and it was like, zoinks! Man, I hope that doesn't happen. Jason Robards, he's like melting away in front of us, and, it's not from his alcoholism either. So, oh wow. Looks like there's something on the lens. Oh no. Wait a second. Let me double check. Yes, there is. There is something on the lens. Got it. Hey, that's what happens. It's a live show, right? It is a live show. But yeah, it's I don't know. It's every time I see another game that's set in, it's West Germany, 1980s. And this is Air War, so this is a little different. We don't see tons and tons of Air War games, so this could be kind of cool. But yeah, ouch, my eye. Sorry, guys. Anyway, I don't know. I just, every time I see another like Warsaw Pact NATO game in Germany in like anywhere from 85 to 89, I just gotta go. To me, it's almost like, oh yeah, here comes another Battle of the Bulge game. Like, we need another one of those. Anyway, I'm not knocking this game. This game does look interesting. It's probably a little meatier and heftier than I would probably want to jump into. I'm sure I will get a copy of it, so I will show that off. And maybe even do a giveaway. Who knows? I don't know. All right, moving right along. Our next news piece. We're going to stick with some conflict simulation because Ryder Games has a title on the horizon which might make a good gateway into conflict sims, or it could just be a complete disaster. I have some dope on Frontier Wars. Frontier Wars allows you to take control of one of the four most relevant factions in World War II. Choose which role you want to take in the fray. United States, United Kingdom, Germany, or Russia in games for 2 to 4 players. Recreate battles of the largest military clash in history. Learn how to manage your resources, make bold tactical movements with your troops, infantry, tanks, artillery, and airstrikes. Make alliances that meet your interests, but remember, your allies can stop being so at any time. Fight smart and never cease exploring your options, since the end of the battle can arrive at the most unexpected moment. The game includes 100 fully detailed miniatures, a modular battlefield for new and different games each play, as well as 90 cards that will make each game unique. We've worked hard to give the game easy mechanics and a quick learning without losing a high tactical complexity, all of it within the frame of fast, dynamic games. Not very well done as far as the translation to English from that. I believe this is actually a Spanish game. In the first Frontier Wars expansion, players can also take on the roles of Japan or France and jump into the fray with up to 6 players. This expansion also includes a new type of tile, double tiles, and new additional scenarios. Frontier Wars is for 2 to 4 players, ages 14 and up, plays in a half hour to 2 hours, and it will carry an MSRP of $59.99 when it arrives in November. The Japan and France expansion, that's that first expansion, which will actually increase the player count up to 6, will arrive on the same day. It will carry an MSRP of $29.99. So I think this looks interesting. This could be interesting. Here's something that kind of, I don't know, strikes me as kind of odd. And I understand this is a Spanish game, and in Spain, the Spanish Civil War and World War II are still a bit of a touchy subject for a lot of people in Spain, especially the Spanish Civil War. So when they kind of tackle World War II topics, they don't like to get into a lot of the nitty-gritty historical aspects of it. This is what I've seen in the past. And like I said, I do believe this is a Spanish design. And I just don't dig the fact that in a 4-player game, you've got 4 different sides. You got the US, you got the UK, you got Russia, you got Germany. And it's just like everybody for themselves? That is not a World War II game. I mean, granted, yes, I understand you can... A lot of people like to play war games where it's sort of like, yes, it could be, the US and Germany are allied, and things like that. I do get that. But this doesn't seem like this game is actually trying to simulate the Second World War, even though it makes references to the Second World War. So, I don't know. So, I mean, it could be, like I said, it could be interesting, could be a complete disaster. So, Dan from No Enemies here says, yeah, I understand war gamers are an old and persistent bunch. Yeah, it's a dying out bunch, too. Mark Herman and Herman Luttman are doing great strides. Oh, I completely agree. And I'm not against the hypothetical World War III scenarios and that. We have seen loads of those games over the years. It's just the Germany in the 80s is like, Anyway, moving right along. So yeah, I guess we're like just focused on violence today, right? All conflict sims. So, and I'm not really breaking that because Atlas Games has announced that they've got a social deduction game gonna be coming out in early 2020, and it's called Never Bring a Knife. So I assume we're talking about never bring a knife to a gunfight. So it's a game with a cops and robbers kind of feel. There is no exact specific like sell sheet info that's out there just yet. I do have some info that I'm kind of paraphrasing. So the setting of the game is essentially a bank heist that's gone wrong, and it turns out that some of the crew robbing the bank are actually really undercover cops. So the 2 groups are trying to find out just who's on their side and who are the enemy. So it's intended to be a lighter, faster-paced approach to social deduction games. During the game, players use cards to help identify other players, protect their friends, and eliminate the opposition. But when the first player is eliminated, the game ends and the team loses the game. Never Bring a Knife is for 4 to 8 players. It's for ages 17 and up because of its mature themes. It's going to take about a half hour to play and carry an MSRP of $17.95 when it arrives in Q1 of next year. So what I would dig seeing, let's get Quentin Tarantino to sit down and play this with us, right? I think this would be pretty cool. And I just, and once again, we're not focusing on, hey, yeah, let's get 12-year-old kids to play this, because no. But yeah, it kind of has that whole, like, vibe to it that, like a Tarantino movie would be, or even a lot of Scorsese movies early on would have that, that kind of vibe to it. This could be kind of cool. Could be pretty interesting. Moving on to some role-playing game news. there's an interesting mashup of 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons and the sensibilities of the old school Renaissance or Revival, whichever you want to say. It's now available from Sigil Stone Publishing. I've got the dope on 5 Torches Deep. So here's the basics. It's 5e plus OSR. The layout is designed for utility and streamlined gameplay and is highly compatible. 5 Torches Deep, FTD, and we're not talking about the flower delivery company, is a streamlined adventure game combining the best mechanics and principles of 5e, the OSR, and modern game design. The core of the game is familiar to anyone who's played 5e or previous editions of the game, but every mechanic has been pared down, modified, or expanded upon to create a coherently gritty, resource-focused, roguelike, old-school experience. Kind of weird that they throw roguelike in there. That's a game, that's a video game kind of terminology where it's like permadeath. That's kind of like, well, yeah, that's usually how old school role-playing games would be. So, I don't know. Just using that term throws me off a bit. The game's about tough choices, risk versus reward, and using as much out-of-character smarts as in-character mechanics. It's just about everything we've come to expect from an OSR adventure game. Brutal, challenging, streamlined, and accessible. It's a good way to introduce 5th edition players to OSR. It's got a modular design and layout. FTD is meant to ease the introduction of OSR mechanics and principles to those already familiar with 5th edition. The core is largely compatible with the current edition, but the more FTD mechanics and subsystems you add, the more OSR it feels. As such, you can plug and play to hack up your own amalgam of FTD and other systems. So it's 5e skeleton OSR meat. It's succinct but complete. It's a modern layout for ease of reference. FTD is a blend of old and new, digital and tabletop. It loots the corpses of 4 decades of gaming in just 48 packed pages. It's able to comprehensively recreate an authentic OSR experience while bringing plenty of new subsystems to the table. Heavier than Knave or Into the Odd, more concrete than the Black Hack, less epic than 5e, more familiar than the White Hack, and less edgy than Lamentations of the Flame Princess. It hits the sweet spot between post-clone ultralight rules and burdensome mechanics. All right, have a good one, Dan. Mr. No Enemies here's got to run. So you can score the 48-page 5 Torches Deep PDF from Drive-Thru RPG for $10. So I thought this was pretty cool. It sounds very interesting until I see it's $10 for 48 pages. And this is actually something that was a successful Kickstarter. So, you know, and it's kind of weird. It seems like today I'm like kind of picking on the news stories. I'm not trying to pick on the news stories. Today seems to be a day where there's some items that I'm sharing with you that on one hand, I'm like, hey, this sounds really interesting. And then on the other hand, it's sort of like, but. So this 5 Torches Deep really does sound very, very interesting. But I have a problem when you're spending on a PDF, when you're spending more than 20 cents a page. And it's actually a project that was successfully kickstarted. So there was some money already in people's pockets. I don't know. I'm more like 5 cents, or not 5 cents, about 10 cents a page, 15 cents a page when there's lots of arts. But yeah, when you start getting into 20 cents a page for a PDF, I mention it. Plus, you have to keep in mind, if you have not checked out Basic Fantasy, which there is no artwork, I'll be the first to point out, outside of like the cover, which isn't all that exciting. Or maybe there is a little bit of artwork, I forget. Basic Fantasy is still kind of the same thing. It's kind of a 5e OSR mashup, and it's absolutely free, and it's got tons and tons of supplemental material available as well. But still, like I said, this does sound pretty interesting. So you might want to check it out. All right, so moving on from something that I'm kind of a little leery about the price, let's talk about something that's absolutely free. Because if you are a fan of the tabletop game Root, then you might be interested in an RPG quick start, which is available from Magpie Games. It's set in that world, and I've got the dope. Root, the tabletop role-playing game quick start, is based on the award-winning Root, a game of woodland might and right board game. In Root, the TTRPG, players take on the roles of vagabonds in the woodland, adventuring from clearing to clearing and through the forest while a war rages in the background. You take on jobs for woodland denizens, maybe dealing with some nearby bandits or a dangerous bear, but you also take on jobs for the factions involved in the war. The Marquis de Cat, which I guess is a cat, might ask you to undermine the Erie Dynasty's advance into a nearby clearing, and the Erie Dynasties might ask you to kidnap an important leader of the Marquisate. Your actions will reshape the woodland, and you will gain prestige or notoriety with the different factions to mark your relationships with them. Root, the tabletop role-playing game, is based on the Powered by the Apocalypse framework. Now, it's from Magpie Games, I can understand why. With all new rules designed to help you play a game of woodland adventure. This quick start includes everything you need to play a few sessions of the game, such as basic moves and rules to play, 6 vagabond playbooks, special weapon moves for combat, map and clearing generation systems, a faction system to represent the war, and of course, keep in mind this quick start isn't the full game. It will undergo changes, refinements, and adjustments with playtesting. I do believe that Magpie Games is, they've got a Kickstarter. I don't know. It was supposed to launch yesterday, as far as I know. I don't know if it did or not, because I did a search and couldn't pull it up. So this is a quick start. I believe they are either in the midst of or are about to launch a Kickstarter for a full-fledged role-playing game. So I will try to track down a little more news about that for tomorrow, possibly. But this quick start is available absolutely free over at Drive-Thru RPG. And of course, when I talk about Drive-Thru RPG, keep in mind that the Daily Dope and the Gaming Gang, of course, are affiliated with the One Bookshelf websites. So if you are going to go to Drive-Thru RPG or even possibly Wargame Vault, please stop by thegaminggang.com first, click on one of our banners, and that way if you do make a purchase, I get a little piece of that pie. Very small, but it still comes up. So Paul Nolan says the Kickstarter is up now. Just check. You know what? I don't know. Maybe I looked before it launched. That's a possibility. So Flaming Huron mentions that they're liking publishers who provide free PDFs with hard copy books. Yes, we're seeing that more and more. So for an example, yes, Paul Nolan's pointing out a piece of the action from the drive-through sites. Yes. It's like a nickel, a dime. All depends. Sometimes it's like, holy cow, somebody made a purchase that got us 25 cents? So, Flaming Huron also mentions there's a publisher that released their own Robotech RPG and thinks it's the company that did Attack on the SDF-1 board game. It is not. It is not. I know the role-playing game you're talking about because Palladium lost the license. So, that went up in smoke, which we won't talk about Palladium because there are a lot of people who are, not me personally, I didn't back a Kickstarter from Palladium, but there are people who are very, very upset with the whole Robotech fiasco with Palladium. But yes, there's a PDF that is out there for Robotech. It is the Macross saga, I do believe. It only focuses on Macross, which, funny enough, most people kind of incorporate that as just Robotech. That's it. Robotech is Macross, as opposed to the 2 other stories that are also included in the series. So, yes, there are some companies out there that do provide you with free PDFs if you buy the physical book. We know for a fact we got Cubicle 7 Entertainment does that. And also, oh my gosh, I'm blanking out. I think Green Ronin does. Let's see. Let me see if I can jar my memory banks here. I know Arc Dream Publishing does as well. And you know, I thought Free League did at one point, but we just talked about the upcoming book for they're doing a Kickstarter and for Forbidden Lands. Why am I thinking Forgotten Realm? For Forbidden Lands, and in the Kickstarter, it's like you can get the PDF for this amount, you can get the hardcore book for this amount, or you can get both together, and they're charging you for the PDF, and it's like, okay. Anyway, yeah, I agree with you, Flaming Heron. I really do. That I really, really like companies that, if you buy the physical book, it's just an electronic file, folks. I mean, come on. It's not taking food out of anybody's mouth, right? It's just an electronic file. So I think that does really, really wonderful PR, I guess we'll say. Everybody knows Cubicle 7 Entertainment does a fantastic job with their stuff. So it's just another thing on top of that with Dominic McDowell, because we even talked about the free PDFs in my interview with him at Gen Con this year. If you haven't checked it out, be sure to, because it's a lot of fun. Dom and I always have a good time talking. But that's one thing that he's very vehement about, is to make sure that you get a PDF if you buy the physical book. Now, a lot of times you do have to order it from the Cubicle 7 Entertainment website or one of their brick and mortar partners in order to do that, but it's not that difficult. I mean, I think most of the retailers out there are kind of part of the Cubicle 7 Entertainment family. So that is pretty much it for tonight's news. Do want to also mention that if you like the Daily Dope, if you like the Gaming Gang channel, if you like the Gaming Gang website, you already know that this is pretty much a not-for-profit endeavor here. So, if you do like what I do, please consider making a small donation to Lil Bub's Big Fund and the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. Lil Bub's Big Fund does provide grant monies to organizations throughout the United States who care for special needs animals who are awaiting adoption. These animals could be a little long in the tooth like me, or they could possibly have a need for medications every day. They might have mobility issues. They could be blind. They could be deaf. Who knows? But regardless, these animals still deserve to find loving homes. And as someone who has adopted plenty of shelter pets in my day, they will repay you that love 1,000-fold easily. So, like I said, if you like, please make a small donation to Lil Bub's Big Fund. If you do, by all means, please shoot me an email. My email address is right there in the corner. It's jeffmcaleer@thegaminggang.com. Let me know. You don't have to prove it. Just let me know. And if you would like, I'll be more than happy to give you a shout-out on the following show. So, let's see. So, Flaming Heron says, yes, it was Strange Machine Games that released the Robotech role-playing game. Yeah, because I remember I did a news piece. For some strange reason, I want to say it's like Savage Worlds. It's either Savage Worlds or Fate is the system that it's built on. I think. I talk about so many games, I can't remember all of them. You know how that goes. Anyway, so hopefully the lighting looks pretty good tonight. Hopefully everything was nice and sharp. Tomorrow's show, hopefully I've got the audio ironed out, so the audio's got a little more oomph to it, a little more pop to it. And this weekend I'll be doing some reviews, so hopefully I'm hoping maybe to get an opportunity to shoot some on Friday, but all depends. Just a lot of stuff going on. I got a bunch of new equipment that I kind of splurged for, and fingers crossed that it all works right. So, Anyway, that is it for the Daily Dope tonight. As I like to say, thank you very much to those out there who joined me live in chat. And of course, I know a lot of people actually watch, no, I shouldn't say a lot. I know there are some people who do watch live. They watch on TV. So I know Herman Luttman, my good buddy, designer Herman Luttman, sometimes watches the show on TV. So he doesn't jump into chat. But I do appreciate everybody who watches live. And of course, I appreciate anybody who watches regardless if it's live or Memorex. But as I like to point out, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, by all means, please visit thegaminggang.com for the latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, comics, movies, TV. By now you know the drill. Get your geek on at gaminggang.com. Don't forget, if you like the show, if you like the channel, please subscribe. If you do, ring that bell because it'll notify you when the stream goes live and when I post new videos. So I will be back tomorrow. Everybody enjoy their Wednesday night. And of course, happy trails. Thanks again for watching The Daily Dope, presented by The Gaming Gang. If you like this episode, be sure to give it a quick thumbs up. And if you dig the channel, please subscribe. If you'd like to check out our previous episode, click right here. And if you want to check out a somewhat randomly selected episode, give a click right down here. It'll be like opening a box of Cracker Jacks. You just don't know what you'll get. Once again, thanks for watching, and I'm Jeff McAleer.